Listen, please. We got here, you know what I'm saying, some brothers, man, who just ride on the scene, man, in this free world, man. And I want y'all to listen what they have to say, man. They got very provoking thoughts. And we're going to start with our brother, you know what I'm saying, Hakeem. And he going to open up this thought and opinion. It's for y'all to do the research and do the study, man, you know what I'm saying. Don't just be informed by what we say, but go out, you know what I'm saying, and apply yourself to do the study and research to shape y'all, inform y'all own thought and opinion. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully in line with truth and facts.
So, good evening, America. I'd like to open with a suggestion that thought can be defined in a manner that allows the individual to use that information to broaden his horizon and clear his vision. I believe that thought consists of 4 components. Those 4 components are reasoning, analyzation, deduction, and conclusion. I believe that we have a responsibility as human beings to think, and oftentimes, certainly in my case, I didn't do that. I thought that because my mind was functioning, my brain was functioning in a healthy manner, and I was doing what I do, I thought that that meant that I was thinking. That wasn't so. Thinking requires thought that allows you to deduce what it is you're doing or not doing, analyze what it is you're involved with or not being involved with. And if you're not doing that, then you're not exercising your full capacity as a human being to be thoughtful. So I'm asking that we all realize that we have a responsibility to think. My failure to be responsible for my thinking and using substances that altered my ability to think caused me to do a lot of time in prison and rubbed a lot of skin off my behind in the process. I'm saying what I'm saying because I'd like to see my brothers and my sisters utilize the technique of thinking so that we can better our condition and better our world. I want for you what I want for myself, but I certainly don't want you to go through what I had to go through in order to get what I'm trying to share with you this evening. So if there's anyone out there who does not or has not been impressed by what I'm saying, as the brothers say, you can fact check it. We have a responsibility to think, and our condition is the shining example of our failure and our miserable failure to do that. There's no one on the planet who has any more intelligence than you do. When you look at a light bulb, you're looking at the potential that you have within yourself that someone has tapped into. But you can do the same thing or something similar or even more miraculous. Your intelligence is the only tool that you have that's going to change your condition. If you don't utilize it, then you're going to be a victim to someone else's intelligence. That's what's been happening to us for 500 years. We need to change that. So please, I'm begging, whoever within the sound of my voice, contemplate what I'm saying. Consider it. And we're going to create an avenue where you can get back with us and we can dialogue about some of this stuff. But it's really, truly important. And it's particularly important for the young people because they're so distracted by all the distractions being created out here in society and all the things that are out here that are masquerading as feel good, and they're getting caught up. You start out enjoying one thing for whatever reason, you don't realize at the time that you allow yourself to participate in this thing that this thing is going to become habitual and then it's going to try to take control of your life. Utilize your intelligence. Be slow to engage in something that's promising you some euphoria. You can get some euphoria without all that. So with that, I'll turn it over to my colleagues. Thank you for listening.
Well, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to ask the brother, you know what I'm saying, Shaheed, we got here with us, you know what I'm saying, you know, a very intelligent brother, you know what I'm saying, his background, you know what I'm saying, you know, and dealt in real estate, credit repair, you know what I'm saying, you know, a scholar, you know, he done took his time, you know what I'm saying, to study, you know what I'm saying, to get degrees, played basketball, athletic man. He did time, he out here making things happen. I want to ask what's your thoughts about this topic of thought and what you think, you know what I'm saying, is going on in the world with our young people and our people, period. But then it comes to thought, just thinking.
Alhamdulillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. All praise be to Allah. You asked me about thought. Thought, it comes from a source, which I just spoke to you brothers about. It comes from Allah. But there's a balance in thinking that Allah had to produce something outside of himself to actually deal with the world. I believe that to be true, because there's only one creator, correct?
Right.
I believe not weaker, but a lesser part of himself, that thinking is in control of the world right now. I believe that to be true. Thought comes from the source. There's nothing in life and in creation that has not had a thought or thinking behind it. There's nothing outside of the thought of Allah. So whatever he thought about, he produced it already in this world and created it for a purpose. It's all a test. So you asked me about thought. Everything is a test. We're going to fall victim to the lesser thought or the higher thought. And I hope I said that correctly with all due respect.
All right, you know what I'm saying? We're going to go back to Brother Hakeem. And this is a very important subject, man, the thought, man, because like you said, man, you know, I didn't realize, man, you know what I'm saying, you know, I wasn't truly exercising my brain, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was healthy. You know, I felt I was healthy, but the actually exercising of my brain that formulate the thought, you know, I really wasn't, you know what I'm saying, truly, equipping myself to actually have a thought, you know what I'm saying, or put something into a thought, you know what I'm saying. It was just things I seen and what I learned came forth, you know what I'm saying. I was just regurgitating what I saw in my environment.
Exactly.
And so I was taking from those things I saw.
I think that's what most of us did, Joe.
Other people's thoughts.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But I want to actually cultivate my brain.
Exactly.
To formulate a thought of assessment.
Exactly.
Like you said, you know what I'm saying, the 4 elements, you know, of a thought. You know, and what's the 4 elements of this thought? You know, and was we actually performing that in our brain, you know what I'm saying? Was we actually, you know what I'm saying, cultivate, you know what I'm saying, formulating our own thoughts by actually knowing how to infuse the right information.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying, that allow our brain to develop a healthy thought. Or we were just taking from what we saw in our environment and basically regurgitating it out. You know what I'm saying, imitating it.
Yes.
That's what it is.
In our mind and our action.
Yep, that's what it is.
You know what I'm saying? And so, because as human beings, we are all influenced by each other. And so I want to ask you about, man, you know what I'm saying, what we see out here in society, like you said, is this what we see going on? Because I know, you know what I'm saying, you know, from your experience, what you're talking about, you was able to understand this in your trials and your experience of going into them jails and having to sit and face yourself and be honest with yourself. You give me your thought on that.
I had become what I described as an automaton. That was a thoughtless individual, and I was a professional dumb kid, and I coined that phrase, professional dumb kid, because
I like that.
A lot of times we as men, particularly as men, we ride into middle age with our boyish mentalities, and we don't develop the intellect that we should be. We're not keeping par with the cultural other in our society, other men. When I was 30 years old, I was in prison. When I was 35, I was in prison. When I was 40, I was in prison. When I was 50, I was in prison. When I was 70, I was in prison. And there was no break in between. So I realized during my incarceration that I had not only been incarcerated physically by the establishment, the system, society, but I had already incarcerated myself mentally and psychologically because I didn't know how to think. And whose responsibility is it to teach a young man or young woman to think? Is it the schools? Is it the parents? Is it the church? Well, it's all of them. But in our society, Your mother sent you to school for the school to teach you to think. She thinks that they're going to educate her child. But I'd like to say that in reality, the people who run the schools are in the business of creating workers, proficient workers is what they're training us to be proficient workers. They're not really educating us. Okay? They're training us to perform a particular function in the society so that the society that we live in, which is a capitalist system, can run and exploit your labor, give you enough to live off of, but charge you a whole lot so you don't get a chance to save nothing because you work for it, you spend it to live. So you don't have much of a chance to get ahead of the game. But if you're thinking, if you learn how to think, then you'll understand how to exploit the system to benefit yourself, to benefit your family, to create generational wealth. What we pass on from one generation to the next is the ability to get on public aid. You know what I mean? We passed it on. This is how you do that. This is how you get on that. Go down there and tell them this. You know what I'm saying? But we're not passing on any information that allows the next generation to grow and to develop beyond where we are. I got grandchildren right now, and I look at them. I can't. They stuck on what they own, and you really can't tell them anything. So, but I'm looking at them failing miserably, and I'm looking at them, and they're trying to work. They working their ass off. You know what I mean? But they're not getting anywhere. And the reason that they're not getting anywhere, they're not employing the techniques of their own intelligence. They're not exploiting their own potential. You know what I mean? And then they're getting sidetracked by drugs and alcohol, these distractions, these manufactured distractions. They putting new stuff on the drugs every day. And what's that? To put your brain to sleep. To put your mind to sleep. You need to wake up. It's imperative. If you want something better, you got to do something better. You can't keep doing what you've been doing and expecting you're going to get different results. They call that insanity.
All right, you know what I'm saying? Quickly, man, my brother Saheed, can you give me your thoughts, man, on why is it that our young people and our people in our community, man, is not functioning when it comes to using their brain to think? You know what I'm saying? And the reason why our conditions are the way they are is because they're not using their brains to formulate healthy thoughts. And so therefore they're not using their brain to think, you know what I'm saying? And like the brother just said, you know, it causes all type of problems, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of times we're being programmed just to work, but also we're being programmed to self-destruct. Give me your thoughts on that.
Bismillah. It's a heavy question. And I hope Allah give me something to answer it the correct way. But I understand the enemy. He was created for a purpose. He was created for a purpose, and he's been given control. So the thought pattern, not the root of the thought, but the thought pattern here is under control, or people are under that influence of a weaker mind. So when you ask me why I think people think how they think or why they doing what they do, it's because they haven't tapped into the greatest source, the higher power, the higher intellect. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? We all like that. I think the Quran teaches us about 23 prophets. The Bible has a few more. All of them tapped into a higher source of information, their higher thinking. We talking about thought, correct? They tapped into that. The world wasn't created, the world that we live in or exist in, and I'm talking about the reality. I'm talking about reality. It wasn't created based off the principles of the creator. It was based off principles of the weaker self. So that's what rules. That's what's in control. That's what dominates. So when you ask me about a thought, people are thinking in their lower self. That's how I was trained, without due respect. They don't understand what the higher self is because we don't get the examples of the higher self with a higher intellect, the higher information, because that's shielded from the thought. So when you look around the world, you don't see a world filled with a higher thought, with a higher self. You look around the world and see the lowest of the lowest. And when you speak truth too much, that's higher self, that self gets pushed down because this world brings it down. So, inshallah, mashallah, I hope I said the right thing.
Well, you know what I'm saying? And we tackling and trying to understand the issues and problems of our community, man, and bring solutions, man, to the situation, man. I believe that the most important thing that we can do to help our young people and help our people is to inform them with right information and right knowledge, to be a tool of teachers to go out into the community to properly educate our young minds and older minds, to understand that in order for them to be able to have right thoughts, in order for them to be able to have right thinking, they have to have the right information, the right knowledge to be able to formulate the thoughts, the right thoughts, to be able to know how to assess, you know what I'm saying, the problems, not just in our community, but the problems when you look at yourself in the mirror and you be able to detect those faults, those issues, those bad habits that can create not just problems with you, but can create problems within your household, your family, and your community ultimately. Because we got to be able to solve some of the problems by solving the problems within you. And this is one of the main things I believe that affect us all as the three men that's sitting here. We was able to get in those places and face ourselves. And then from being honest with ourselves, the transformation started. With having belief in the oneness of one creator, the transformation started. With infusing our mind and our brain with the right information, truthful information, the transformation started. And from that, we was able to gauge those 4 elements that give you a healthy thought, that allow you to move in the right way, to allow you to be in order and balance where everything has been created. It's a sense of balance that's been created that we all got to move in and respect. And so it's imperative that we go forth and trying to solve those issues. We're trying to teach and educate the masses, you know what I'm saying, on how to think, how to develop a healthy thought. That way we can all move with one purpose, understand as one goal, and move in one truth. And that's how we come, man, you know what I'm saying? You have any last thoughts you want to share, brother?
Reasoning, analyzation, deduction, and conclusion.
That's right.
Those are the components that you want to work within. And if we do that, I promise you, we can create a whole different kind of world for ourselves, and we need to. We desperately need to.
Listen, please, people.